Welcome to the Explainer. Every single year, billions, with a B, are just lost on IT projects that go completely off the rails. So today, we're going to dig into exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how you can tame that chaos.
So here's what we're going to do today. We are tackling a huge challenge in the tech world, economic risk. And we're going to build, from the ground up, a complete toolkit for managing it. We'll start with just identifying the problem, and by the end, you'll have a master plan for success. Seriously, you'll walk away with a framework you can use on your projects, like tomorrow. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's get right to it. We're going to start at the source of the problem by asking that one question. The one that keeps project managers staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. I mean, we've all seen this happen, right? A project has a brilliant team, a fantastic idea, and then, boom, it just goes completely sideways. Well, the answer is usually hiding in plain sight. It all comes down to something called economic risks. So, what are these things? Think of them like invisible forces, the hidden currents and crosswinds that can just knock a project off course, even a really promising one. If you don't manage them, they're going to mess with your budget, your timeline, and your project's shot at success. Okay, so we've put a name to the problem. Now, let's break it down. We're about to meet the 4 main types of risk you are almost guaranteed to run into. I like to call them the 4 horsemen of project failure. First up, financial risks. This is the obvious one, right? It's anything that threatens the money that keeps your project alive. It could be something as simple as a budget miscalculation, or something way bigger. Just think back to the 2008 financial crisis. Suddenly, all that venture capital funding just vanished, and it killed countless amazing startups literally overnight. Next, you've got market risks. These are the things that come from outside your company walls, where your competitors and your customers are the ones calling the shots. And the classic cautionary tale here, BlackBerry. Remember them? They were the absolute kings of the smartphone world, but they just didn't see the iPhone coming. They failed to adapt, and well, we all know how that story ended. Their market share just completely cratered. All right, then we have technological risks. These are tricky because they come from the very tools you're using, which can be a total blessing one day and a curse the next. Tech moves so incredibly fast that the stack you choose today could be obsolete before you even go live. Or you could have a nightmare scenario like Salesforce did back in 2016. A single data center went down and it caused massive outages and even data loss. The cost to their bottom line and their reputation was just enormous.
And our 4th horseman, legal risks. These can wrap your project up in so much red tape or just stop it dead in its tracks. A perfect example of this was the EU's GDPR privacy law back in 2018. It didn't matter where in the world your company was. If you had data on EU citizens, you had to comply, or you were facing these massive fines. It forced literally the entire world to rethink how they handle data.
So, this all sounds pretty scary, right? The big question is, how do you spot these risks before they sneak up and bite you? Well, you've got to put on your detective hat. The good news is, you're not working in the dark here. We're going to give you a 4-part toolkit to help you systematically hunt down these hidden threats. We'll kick things off with a classic SWOT analysis to get the lay of the land. Then, we'll get a bit more formal with systematic analysis. After that, we'll talk about how to pull in wisdom from expert surveys. And finally, how to unleash your own team's brainpower with brainstorming sessions.
So that first tool, the SWOT analysis, look, it's a classic for a reason. This simple little grid gives you a full 360-degree view of your project. You just map out your internal strengths, say a really skilled team, and your weaknesses, like a super tight budget. Then you pit those against your external opportunities, maybe a growing market, and threats, like new competitors popping up. It really forces you to step back and see the whole battlefield.
But here's the key. A SWOT analysis is just the starting point. The real magic happens when you start combining it with other methods. You bring in outside experts, people who've been there and done that, to get their perspective. And you absolutely have to run brainstorming sessions with your own team. Create that safe space where people can voice every crazy what-if scenario they can think of. It's this multi-layered approach that makes sure nothing important slips through the cracks. Okay, so now you've got this long list of potential disasters. What do you do with it? You can't possibly tackle everything at once, right? So the next step is crucial. You've got to understand and prioritize them. It's all about sorting the genuine 5-alarm fires from the minor distractions.
And you've basically got 2 ways to do this. First is qualitative analysis. This is your gut check. It's fast, it's intuitive. You just use your team's experience to label risks as high, medium, or low impact. Simple.
On the flip side, you have quantitative analysis. This is where you actually pull out the spreadsheets and calculators. You start assigning real numbers, like there's a 30% chance this happens and it'll cost us 50 grand. Honestly, the best move is often to start with a quick qualitative pass to get a feel for things, and then do a deep quantitative dive on just the biggest, scariest risks.
It's also super important to separate your risks into two buckets, internal and external. Internal risks are the things happening inside your own house. Poor planning, team drama, stuff like that. You can often control these directly. But external risks? Those are things like a sudden recession or a brand new law. You have zero control over those. The goal isn't to stop them, you can't. It's to be ready for them. And you absolutely have to know the difference before we build our big plan.
All right, enough theory. Let's get practical. We're going to take everything we've talked about and forge it into a powerful tool you can start using like today. It's time to turn all that analysis into a concrete action plan. Let's build a risk matrix. Building one of these is actually a pretty straightforward 5-step process. It's all about turning those vague, scary what-ifs into a clear, actionable plan. We've already done step 1, identifying the risks. Now, we're just going to score each one on its probability and impact, multiply those to get a total score, use that score to prioritize, and then, the most important part, create a response plan for the big ones.
So here's what that looks like in the real world. You list out your risks, right? Then for each one, you just assign a score from, say, 1 to 5 for its probability, how likely is it to happen, and its impact, how bad will it be if it does. So losing a key team member, well, that might have a medium probability, a 3, but the impact would be huge, a 5. You just multiply those two numbers together and bam, you've got your risk score.
And this is where it gets really cool. That simple score instantly gives you crystal clear priorities. See that? Risk B with a score of 15 is screaming for your attention. That's your number 1 priority. So what's the action plan? Maybe you develop a retention program, and you start documenting everything that person knows. For risk A, the supply delay, you start vetting suppliers more carefully and line up a backup. See? The matrix doesn't just list your problems. It points a giant flashing arrow at where you need to focus your energy right now.
So what's the big takeaway here? What's the fundamental shift in thinking we need to have?
This is the mindset shift. Effective risk management isn't about being scared and trying to avoid failure. It's about building the resilience to guarantee success. It's the difference between trying to cross a canyon on a flimsy rope bridge, just hoping you make it, and taking the time to build a solid stone bridge instead. That's what this is. It's a strategic advantage that makes success not just a possibility, but a probability. And please remember this. This is not a one-and-done thing. You don't just make this matrix at the start of a project and then file it away. It's a living, breathing document. The market's going to change, new threats will pop up, old ones will disappear. You have to keep coming back to it, keep it updated all the way through the project lifecycle. So as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Think about your world right now. What is the biggest unmanaged risk you're currently facing? It could be at work, could be in your personal life. What is it? And more importantly, what's just one small thing you could do today to start building your own plan to manage it? Thanks for joining us.